Yasodanandana Bradajandaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya I always remember Paramahansa Vairajikacharya, also those Sisivadi A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Praise the Host Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Govardhana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvana Ki Jai, Gang Jamuna Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samavetta Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatradesha Tarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasudhi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Verse 15. Anagasviha bhuteshu ya agaskrin nirankusa ahartasmi bhujam sakshat amatasyapi sangadam.
Angasviha bhuteshu Anaghasviha bhuteshu Yagaskrinirantusha Ahartasmi bhujam sakshat Amartyasyapi sangadam
Anagasuiha, to the offenseless, bhuteshu, living beings, the person, agakrit, commits offense, nirankusha, upstart, aharta, asmi, I shall bring forth, abhujam, arms, sakshat, directly, amartasya, api, even one who is a demigod, sa angadam, with decorations and armor. Translation: an upstart, living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. Purport: the denizens of the heavenly kingdom are called amara, or deathless, due to their possessing a long span of life far greater than that of the human beings. For a human being who has only a maximum 100-year duration of life, a span of life spreading over millions of years is certainly considered to be deathless. For example, from the Bhagavad Gita, we learn that on Brahmaloka planet, the duration of one day is calculated to be 4,300,000 times 1,000 solar years. Similarly, in other heavenly planets, one day is calculated to be 6 months of this planet, and the demigod, the inhabitants, get a life of 10 million of their years. Therefore, in all higher planets, since the span of life is far greater than that of the human being, the denizens are called deathless by imagination, although actually no one within the material universe is deathless. Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit, so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of a state executive head that the offender of the codes of God is always punished. Translation: an upstart living being who commits offenses by torturing those who are offenseless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor and decorations. So again, we see that Parikshit Maharaj is emphasizing the offenseless creatures, and how if anyone harms the offenseless, then the head of state or the king has to interfere and punish. Here he says to uproot completely that person. So in other words, the protection of the citizens is the occupation of the leader, and he must do that in all cases. And to emphasize that, he says that even if a devata happens to come here and he offends an innocent person, then I will have to also stop this person and punish him as well. So the idea is that to preserve the let's say the peace within society, a human society, and also within the world at large. Prabhupada has pointed out previously that the animals and the plants are also part of the kingdom, and the king has to protect those citizens also. And of course the example here is that the personification of Kali is directly attacking the innocent bull and the cow, which can indicate all animals and consequently plants. Of course, it also represents Dharma and the earth symbolically. So, if such things happen, then the king must interfere. So this is the, we say, the peculiar nature of the human being. If we don't have human beings on the planet, we don't need Dharma. Everything just goes on naturally. The animals do whatever they do, and that's it. When we come to human beings, then we have this idea of Dharma. The human being cannot do whatever he wants to do. Animals can do so. A human being can't. So we can ask, why is that? Why is a human being put in this category? We should be as free as the animals. Well, we're not. We have to follow laws of country, we have to follow laws of Dharma here, and king is there, whatever. Why we have to have these strange laws? And of course some people will object to these laws, say, yeah, we shouldn't have laws, we should just be free. But we see that, again, Scripture recognizes the human being as, of course, a privileged being on the planet. He is more intelligent than the plants and the animals. But he also has a responsibility. He cannot use his intelligence simply to kill off all the other animals and plants, which he could do if he wants to. If he gets greedy some way, or revengeful, he could just start killing everything, annihilating all the animals and plants. So he can't do that. That we have the laws of Dharma there, or the laws of the kingdom to prevent the human being. So the human being is capable of more destruction than animals. Human being has higher intelligence, and he can misuse that intelligence to create all sorts of instruments for destruction. We can see that the demons are sometimes very intelligent and very capable, like Hiranyakasipu or Hiranyaksha, very intelligent, and what they can cause a lot of destruction on earth. In fact, Hiranyaksha, he did so much destruction that the whole Bhumandala fell into the Govardhana ocean as a result of his exploitation of the earth. Therefore, there has to be some, control. And we see constantly there is this upsurge of destructive element among the human-like species, like the demons or the lower species, to take control. So we have Hiranyakasipu trying to get up to the heavenly planets, Ravana trying to get up to the heavenly planets, all these demons trying to control the earth and go upwards and get up to Svargaloka, or try to get up to Brahmaloka, etc., and conquer. And they are doing this by their great intelligence and their great prowess. But nevertheless, the Supreme Lord has his own plan. Everybody has to keep to their own level. So we have the lower species and the lower planets, and we got the human species here, and we got the devatas and higher beings above. That's the natural order. And when the demonic element tries to rise up, then that's a disturbance to the order that the Lord has set up, and there has to be some restoration of order in the universe. So we'll see throughout the Bhagavatam there's this constant competition between we say the good and the bad, or the upper and the lower, etc. The demons trying to creep upwards, and the David is pushing them down like this. And we'll see in the different cantos battles between the Devatas and the demons taking place so often. There's a constant conflict in the material world. And the same thing on Earth planet itself, particularly in Kali Yuga. Of course, other yugas also have demons appearing, so Brahma has to kill demons also. So in his Treta Yuga, that was the 24th Yuga cycle, 24th cycle of Vaivasata Manvantara, he had to deal with demons also. But Kali Yuga is more difficult for people because we got a lot of demonic elements rising up in Kali Yuga. And they're also trying to upset the system. So consequently in Kali Yuga we'll find more and more violence, more and more sinful activity taking place, because the general tendency is the demoniac element is becoming stronger and stronger and difficult to control. Nevertheless, somehow or other, the leader has to keep things under control, somehow or other. So Parikshit was, with the beginning of Kali Yuga, Parikshit was able to do that, but it didn't last too long after that. Gradually things began to decline, and we'll find later in the Bhagavatam descriptions of the different dynasties, and one person gets assassinated, and this person gets killed, this person comes in power, etc. So we get a lot of irregularities taking place, and consequently we have unqualified persons in charge, and then everybody in society is suffering. So we have demons as a species, like the Daityas and Asuras, etc. And then we have human beings like us who also take on demoniac natures, lower natures, tamagun, rajagun natures, and cause great disturbance in society. So these are the persons who will attack the innocent people, or innocent animals, and innocent plants also. And this will cause a great disturbance. If there is a good leader, he can do something about it and keep control. If the leader himself is one of these demoniac persons, then we're in a big problem. So this is very possible in Kali Yuga. We see this takes place quite often. We have completely unqualified people in as the head of state, or the executive head. And we have catastrophe for the whole country as a result. So this is simply the nature of Kali Yuga. On one hand, it inevitably happens because it is Kali Yuga. Nevertheless, we have to try to do something about that, in terms of having some sort of qualified person as the head of government, and as much as possible, as Prabhupada has already indicated in the previous purport, that we create devotees among the population. So if the population is peaceful and offenseless by nature, then they don't require a forceful head as such. The leader, if he's of a similar quality as the people, and they're all devotional, then there is no problem at all. And it's only when we get the citizens themselves also being demoniac, we get a demoniac population plus demoniac leader, then we have a big problem. But if we have the people who are highly qualified as citizens, then it's not necessary to oppress them in any way. So therefore, they can also elect a leader who's qualified. So in any case, Kali Yuga is a dangerous place, but somehow or other, we have to cultivate spiritual life amidst these great obstacles. In the second canto there's the 4 main verses of the Bhagavatam quoted, recited by the Lord to Brahma. So one of those verses, he's talking about that process which can be executed at all times, sarvada, and everywhere, sarvatra. So in any yuga, and any time in any yuga, the beginning of the yuga, end of the yuga, middle of the yuga, etc., even at the end of Kali Yuga, the process can be done. And everywhere, in every country, on this earth planet, or in other varshas, on Bhumandala, or in the heavenly planets, or in the hellish planets, process of bhakti can be done. So at all times, in all places, from the beginning of the day of Brahma to the end of the day of Brahma, all throughout Brahma's life, in all yugas, including Kali Yuga, beginning, middle, and end, by all people, wherever they are, young or old, or even in the womb, as in the case of Prahlad, he got instructions in the womb, up until the point of death, as we see in the case of Ajamil. It's the process of bhakti can go on in spite of all of the obstacles that appear within Kali Yuga, when we'll have unqualified leaders, and even in the population we'll have large segments who are in the lower gunas. So the minimum requirement for the leader, at least, is to protect the innocent, which means that all those violent persons who are disturbing the society must be uprooted somehow or other. So that's the minimum standard, at least, that has to be set. Control the disturbing elements of the population. And then based on that, then we can have refinement by other rules and regulations to help people. If this system somehow cannot be implemented properly, and will get increase of violence among humans and animals and plants, etc., the result will come anyway. If it is not through the governing body, the head of state, and the laws of the country, if it does not take place there, it will take place anyway by the law of karma, by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. So if you don't want to follow the rules, then eventually the rules will be imposed by nature itself, and you have to obey ultimately. So we see some graphic examples of that even in the modern world. So now we have coronavirus, and it's very, very infectious. Everybody can get it. Then we can try to make a vaccine to prevent it. But they've already had vaccines for previous viruses, etc. So it's not going to prevent another virus. Maybe half a year from now, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, maybe 4 years from now. And you won't have a vaccine for it, and then you get the same problem again. Then you have to get a new vaccine, and a new vaccine, and a new vaccine. But that's not a real solution. If you analyze carefully, then you'll see everyone is dying. Why are they dying? And because of the virus. Where did the virus come from? Somehow it wasn't from a bat. But it doesn't just come from a bat. It goes via another animal. So the previous viruses that have come to the human beings have all come from animals. Maybe they're from the bat, but they went via the bat to the chicken, to the human being, or via the pig to the human being, or via the cow to the human being. So any eminent virologists can tell you that ultimately, in order to stop all these viruses, you have to stop all the animal slaughter, the mass production of animals. Because this is what's causing it. When they breed all the chickens and the pigs and whatever like that, they pick up the virus from the thing and they start breeding it among their bodies, and then they pass it on to the human being. So the mass production of animals for slaughter is the cause of 80%, I think, of the viruses that jump to the human being and cause a lot of problems for us. We see it's a natural, you can say, law of karma operating here. All the animal slaughter, then human beings have to suffer for it. So how do we solve it? Then you have to stop the animal slaughter. If you want to get rid of all those viruses popping up in human beings, you have to close all the slaughterhouses, and close all the meat production, etc. Eventually, probably, they may have to do that anyway. Meat production is going to protest. Meat producers protest like anything. People that want meat are going to protest, but there may not be anybody left to protest afterwards if they all get struck with the viruses eventually. So, nature has its way of, let's say, teaching us many things. That's just one example. We can say environment is the same thing. We do things with the environment, and chop down trees and whatever, mine things up, then we end up with a lot of problems as a result of that. So, if the human beings don't regulate themselves properly according to the laws of Dharma, then nature itself will eventually do something. So that is also the lesson taught here. Dharma is the bull. So that, of course, Dharma means the laws of sense control, minimize violence, etc. And Kali is attacking all that, which means the demonic elements are getting stronger, less and less rules, less and less Dharma, more and more violence. Secondary result is the cow. The cow is the earth. So, if there's less Dharma among human beings and more violence, the earth, what happens to the earth? Earth suffers. So what happens when the cow suffers? No milk. What happens when the earth suffers? No produce, no food, no good weather, no water, etc. So there's a direct relationship between the conduct of the human being and the earth planet. And therefore we have the laws of Dharma to control the human being so that the earth isn't disturbed. That's the relationship between the cow and the bull and the Kali Yuga attacking, beating the legs of the bull here. So the more that the human being is uncontrolled, less Dharma, to that extent, the earth will react. So it's a very broad principle that is illustrated here. But it's also a very true principle we can see happening and acted very graphically on all levels in our society today, more than ever before, with the amount of destruction of nature that's taking place out of greed for humanity, the amount of animals that are killed, etc. We get natural result in terms of earth reacting to this. So we get our karma anyway, even if the government isn't going to punish you, then the law of karma comes along and the earth reacts and we get all sorts of problems. So if we have a good government, fine, but if we don't, then nature will act anyway. So that's the nature of Kali Yuga. However, as Bhagavatam says, the saving grace of Kali Yuga is Nam Sankirtan. So somehow or other we do this. That can act as a solution on all levels, spiritual, mental, physical, etc. And establish a nice relationship again between the cow and the bull, between Dharma and earth, etc. And of course between spirit, soul, and Krishna. Okay. Any question? You have a question? Okay.
They say, I don't know if it's written, that in previous ages the demons were born on different planets and then in different countries, different families, and they, in this age, they're born in the same body.
Well, I haven't heard it stated in Scripture, but it's also there. We get demons within ourselves. Everybody gets troubled by inner spirits, or we can say spirits or whatever, which are a form of demon, I guess we could say. But I think in all ages they have demons of sorts, but and of course they're born in all sorts of places. I don't know if it's particularly other planets or whatever, but definitely in Kali Yuga we get all types of demons, inner demons, outer demons, upper planets, lower planets, everywhere.
Is it just a desire to lord over nature? Would that be considered demoniac?
What's that?
Living entities' inherent conditioned nature to lord over material nature. Would that be?
Well, in one sense it is demoniac. It's Bahirmukha Jiva. All jivas in the material world don't recognize the Lord. Bahirmukha, turned away from the Lord. The Lord's here, we're here. Turn away. Go the opposite direction. That's why we have material bodies. So in that sense, demoniac. But we usually see the demon as the person who consciously hates the Lord, or the idea of existence of the Lord. Yeah? Like Kamsa, that Vishnu, we hate him, like that. Or Shishupal, we hate the Lord because he killed 3 lives ago, he killed my brother. So they think of him as a material being and they hate him. So those are the heavy demons, and they try to compete with the Lord, defeat the Lord under all circumstances. Then we get the less conscious demons, the people that are just gross sense enjoyers in the material world, like that. And then we get people like normal people who are just they don't hate the Lord, they don't like the Lord, they're not religious at all, but still they're Bahirmukha. And then we have persons who are inclined to the Lord slightly. They still have a little bit of attraction to material energy also, so they're at war with it. They got their bad nature called anartas, and then they got their good nature, faith in the Lord. And then as we progress in bhakti, then the anartas go away, the demoniac nature ceases, and our natural dharma, nitya dharma, our natural inclination for the Lord increases until it becomes 100%.
You know, the people of the world, is it generally that people are generally just innocent by nature? It's that demoniac conditioning through comes through the leaders and the society and media is just making them generally they're innocent?
It's hard to say, but we can say that yes, a lot of people are simply innocent, but then they get kind of programmed by the culture of their society or the country also. So they're not really bad people, but if the country has some really bad government or bad propaganda leaders like that push certain ideas on them, they may end up in a worse state because of that. So it's not their fault in one sense, it's their karma that they're born in that society. But at the same time, we have a small minority who are definitely very atheistic and demonic in nature also. And then we have some who are the opposite, devotional, with a small quantity. We can say a large quantity are maybe just ignorant, but there's different levels of ignorance also. Some are more, attracted to material sense enjoyment. So consequently, they can become more inimical to somebody because of that. You try to stop their sense gratification, then they'll revolt. They'll be very, they'll be very violent towards all. Others are just, quite sense controlled or whatever.
Sometimes he talks about nuclear war.
Yeah.
He was kind of pretty well convinced that there was going to probably be a third world war, nuclear war. I mean, surveyors say that it could kill 80% of the people on the planet. This is, as I said, human beings use their intelligence to destroy each other. So they create weapons, and they can, destroy the whole planet with a few of these bombs, set off 60 or 70 bombs in different parts of the world. You can destroy everybody. So that's the human mentality, which has to be controlled.
Of course, they'll say because we have to defend ourselves against that person, but then the whole problem is that humanity at large is like this, fighting with each other all the time, which is a problem. As Prabhupada said, the United Nations does not solve the problem, it just creates more nations. So there's a basic problem with the human being himself that we have to deal with, which is, it's not just a matter of legal things or treaties this way and that way, protect this government from that government, whatever. It has to do with spiritual development. If we do that, then that would solve the problem. Otherwise, everything is superficial. So apart from the idea of exploitation, the other danger is the intelligence there which produces weapons of destruction. Well, of course, even they have destruction weapons which are viruses. Biological warfare, that's what it is. And a lot of governments have invested in that. You defeat the enemy by giving them diseases. But then you may not prevent your own citizens from getting the same diseases. Chemical warfare, biological warfare, everybody's into that. And then we have the nuclear one also, the bombs. So it's all very, very dangerous for the human being, but people use their mind like that.
In the purport mentions about the inhabitants of the higher planets, 10 million years of their life, so presumably that's 10 million celestial years he's talking about.
Well, I don't know how many years has that come out to be.
Sure. I mean, the calculation, Prabhupada said 6 months to 1 year, to one of that days. So that calculates as 100 Earth years is 200 days on the heavenly planets.
Okay.
So 10 million celestial years in Earth time, that's a long time.
I think generally the Devatas last on their planet for 71 Yuga cycles.
Right.
And then they have a whole other set of Devatas, Manus, sages, etc., taking over after 71 Yuga cycles. So there's 14 Manvantara periods in one day of Brahma. With each Manvantara we get a whole set of Devatas. So that would be 71 times 4,300,000 years, whatever that is.
So after that 71, what happens to those Devas who their time is finished? Do they leave the heavenly planets? Or?
Yeah, I guess they have to. They're no longer positioned, are kicked out. They could advance, they could go upwards, take another body in a higher planet, there's a sage or whatever, go up to Brahmaloka and live like that.
So presumably you've got the 7 layers upwards, each layer is a longer period.
So Brahmaloka is the highest.
So
but the problem is that after every day, even Brahma has to go to sleep. Their planets aren't destroyed, the upper planets, but Svargaloka is, it goes under the water. Then this gets, after the day comes, and then Brahma has to put everything together again, and then he puts all the people back on the different planets. But even the people on upper planets, they have to go to sleep at night.
So the lower planets, the subterranean hellish planet or heavenly planets, they would be extended lives, or do we have information?
What's that? They would?
Do they have long lives also?
Oh, it's in the subterranean planets. Doesn't say as far as I know. But they're called heavenly planets also in one sense, so they don't have any, it looks like they're less disease and everything like that. But it's dark. There's no light there. Only artificial light. Okay. Hare Krishna.